No Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom is the new Japanese RPG from developer Level 5 and publisher Bandai Namco. This is the second game in the franchise that started with Wrath of the White Witch on PlayStation 3, and before that, Dominion of the Dark Djinn for DS, although that game never saw Western release. The game's visual style is reminiscent of Studio Ghibli for very good reason, as that studio produced Wrath of the White Witch's animated sequences. In this game, you take on the role of a young King Evan as he sets out to build an ambitious new kingdom with the help of friends he makes along the way. We've played through the game. We want to share our thoughts on the game's strengths and weaknesses in case that helps you decide whether you want to play it. We've been playing through the game and we have a ton of thoughts we wanted to share in case that helps anyone out there who is trying to decide whether you want to check this game out. For one, I need to put it out there immediately that I've been waiting for this game to come out because I loved the original, so I'm predisposed to liking it, sure. Even though this is a very, very different game from Wrath of the White Witch. So if you played that and you're expecting more of the same, it's not. It is pretty different. There are a lot of mechanics that have changed around.
I did not play Wrath of the White Witch. I wanted to, but I felt like I missed out, and I was happy when this game came along because this game is really, really good and really charming.
Its charm is really the name of the game. This game is oozing charm. Yeah. It's still got that Ghibli art style. Studio Ghibli wasn't actually involved in this one. They were involved with Wrath of the White Witch, but the studio itself was not involved with Revenant Kingdom, but some of the individuals who worked on Wrath of the White Witch for Ghibli did work on this. So there is a little bit of crossover, not nearly as much, but it still retains that style, 100%.
And yeah, the cutscenes are very reminiscent of Studio Ghibli, and they're some of my favorite things in the game still.
Yeah, so. There's a lot to like about this game. If you don't like Japanese RPGs, you may not be interested in any of it, regardless of how charming the graphics are. It's very much... it's open-ish world. It's party-based. The combat is real-time. It's not turn-based. There is a lot of side quests, fetch quests, lots of collecting. If you're not into that sort of thing, you won't get as much out of this game.
Yep.
But it's overall, the whole package is a lot of fun, and like you said, it's really, really, really charming.
Yeah, it's also really different. This game doesn't follow. It doesn't feel like it follows a ton of like convention from games because it bounces around between like almost different styles of game. Because you have like the regular like third-person RPG action game, then you have like kingdom building, and then you have like a little bit of I wouldn't call it RTS elements, but like, you know, overworld battles with little miniature armies and stuff like that. So it's sort of, it definitely like changes the pace a lot.
So the game there are a bunch of different levels, different areas, but you navigate between them using this overworld. And that might be a little bit jarring for people initially if you've never played this sort of game. Not actually because of the overworld, those are very common, but because the graphic style changes completely. When you're in a level, which is, or a specific area, the characters all look Ghibli. Everything looks very beautiful and animated. When you go out into the overworld, suddenly the characters are little chibis, and the overworld is, it's a different style of animation. It looks more like a typical rendered game. And that is something I quite like about this, as opposed to just random encounters that pop up, something jumps out at you. The monsters that you can fight are all on the map. So you can try to go around and avoid them if they're particularly difficult. And you're clued into that because their name will be colored according to their level relative to yours. Mm-hmm. So if they're around the same level, they appear in white. If they're much higher level and they're going to be a very difficult fight, then it's orange, or at the upper tiers, red, which basically means run. Or you get to a point too where you've out-leveled everything in a certain area. Their names appear in blue, and the thing I like about that is they don't automatically come after you when you are that much higher level. So you don't get this sort of tedious fighting of low-level monsters unavoidably. Mm-hmm. They leave you alone, and if you want to farm them, they're right there. You go right up to them, you initiate a fight.
I feel like there's definitely several hours of it's tutorial, but it's basically like slowly introducing you to all the game systems, because there is a lot of systems, and they're not the way it introduces you to them. It definitely eases you in, so you don't feel overwhelmed. But I definitely feel like in the early goings of the game, I wasn't as inclined to explore. I was more just like ready to follow through this tutorial, because it is really interesting. They carry you through it with by telling you a story, and also like and through that story introducing things like the skirmishes, things like the kingdom building. And once you get like post kingdom building, that's when the game seems to like really open up and you can go wherever.
Yeah, I did something similar where I didn't spend too much time exploring. I accidentally found a couple of new areas, which is a pretty common occurrence. If you're wandering around in the overworld, you just might suddenly end up in some secret woods, and that's cool. And there's probably something in there for you at some point in the game, but it's not always available like right there. Maybe there's a character that you will later find in there who's not there yet, whatever. But the point is you can get to most of it early on. I didn't. Like you, I followed through the story pretty tightly until it opened up. And the kingdom building, when that starts, it feels like the game is... It releases your hand and it lets you out into the wild. So you can go and do all your side quests and go recruit citizens, or you can go farm a bunch of monsters and level up, or you can go participate in skirmishes, level up your armies that way.
The one thing I haven't done a whole lot of, because it's not that I don't like it, it doesn't seem to have a lot of reward, is the skirmishes. Because I see that when you walk around the open world after they're unlocked, you'll just see flags floating around. You can go interact with them and it'll take you into a battle.
And a skirmish is a type of combat. There are a couple types of combat in the game. This one is one where you take up to 4 different types of units into battle with you. And each unit is strong against a certain other type of unit. So, for example, spears are strong against swords, swords are strong against hammers, hammers are strong against spears. So you get a little rock, paper, scissors. And so you want to maneuver your forces to take advantage of your strengths against enemy forces, and you'll fight your way usually through a course or to a specific objective or to defeat a specific enemy.
Yeah, and the visual style of the skirmishes is the same as the overworld. Like, you're basically walking around a section of the overworld, fighting through enemies, and then eventually fighting like a boss or a harder group of units.
Yeah, and that is fun, but I did find that to be one of the weaker points of the game, mostly because there seemed to be an extreme jump from the beginning difficulty straight into I'm not leveled enough for this.
Which is interesting because the rest of the game, I would say, completely skews easy, and that's not a bad thing. But I will say there has not been much of a challenge in the game yet. Most when you're walking around, either in the open world or the overworld or the in-world, you run into packs of enemies, and those battles are against like 4 to 6 enemies, and they last maybe 15 seconds. Depending on who you're using. I'm using Roland as the character I'm controlling, and he just has AoE abilities that just clear everything out.
Yeah, you're able to choose among several characters. So the initial starting party is the young King Evan and his friend Roland, as well as the air pirate Batu and his daughter Tani, and they each have their own specialties. So Roland he's the quick, easy default. He's a good fighter. Yes. He's quick, hits pretty heavy with swords, and can take some blows. Evan is more mage type. He's a little bit weaker, but great as a spellcaster. Tani, I used ranged as a ranged fighter. There are a couple weird things with the combat. One of them is that using ranged attacks actually uses up your mana points.
Right.
So if you you build those up by using melee attacks. So you do a bunch of melee attacks, build up a meter, and then you can consume the mana either by using a skill, or you can do ranged attacks, and you do quick fire and it'll drain a bunch of your mana. But for some of the fighters like Tani, I found that to be preferable because she was one of the weaker melee fighters. I was not finding weapons that were very powerful for her, so she was constantly the weakest, and it just was better for me to keep her out of range. And then the fourth initial team member is Batu, who's basically your heavy tank.
Yeah.
He's a hammer wielder. He hits really hard and hits real slow. I would agree with you that it skews pretty easily, at least early on. When I moved from... I was taking my time faffing around at first, doing a bunch of side quests, fighting any monster I saw. And so for the first couple, I was probably over-leveled. But then at some point, I was getting really into the story, following that along, and went from one story area to the next without doing a bunch of downtime in between. And when I got to the next area, I was pretty under-leveled. And then it did get difficult.
There's also, in combat, you have something called Higgledies.
Yes.
Which are, I guess in the first game, you probably know better than me, but there was like a Pokemon familiar type system where you gathered monsters and leveled them up and they fought for you, but it was also a different kind of combat, so.
It was. So in the first game, and this is one of the big changes, in the first game, when you'd fight monsters, you could tame some monsters and then you could add them to your roster and they would fight with you. You could level them up, then they would evolve. It was a whole system. This game has done away with that. It's not the focus. I'd say the equivalent of that, just in terms of major focus, is actually kingdom building. But what they replaced the familiars with combat-wise are these little Higgledies. So Higgledies are like little spirits, little sprites for different elements. So there's little fire spirits and there's little grass leafy spirits that are like little healers, and they each have their own specialties. So you get these fire sprites, they go into combat with you, and they will do their best to help you fight. It's also dependent on their personalities. They each have a personality that will determine how quickly they are going to execute attacks or how quickly they're going to build up a meter to do something to help you. My favorite, dark types.
Oh, because the giant nuke that they drop?
The nuke is pretty dope.
So good.
But it's fun playing with all of those, and really the Higgledies are one of the collectibles in the game as well, going around trying to find all the Higgledies. There's, I want to say there's like 100 of them.
100? I found like 4.
Yeah, it's that's going to be, I think, more of an end game thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Although, again, once wikis start popping up, it'll be a lot easier.
Sure.
But if you're just exploring, you come across them in some dungeons, some caves. They're pretty few and far between, and then you also have to have an item to offer the Higgledy stone in order for the Higgledy to join you. Early on, the first couple that you encounter, you're likely to have whatever they're asking for.
Yep.
But as you go further in, you will encounter stones that are asking for something you probably don't have yet, so you have to come back.
Yeah, I found one so far that I didn't have the thing, and now I don't remember where it is, but I have the thing.
I do wish I wish you could drop pins.
Yes.
In the game, so you knew, like, here's a point I need to come back to.
Right.
As is doing the notebook thing.
Yeah.
Old school notebooks.
Fair enough.
But it's a pretty fun. They're pretty cute, and I like experimenting different types of lineups in battle because they're all very helpful. Some of them will heal you, some of them will bust out a cannon and help that way, and the dark types drop nukes and so on and so forth.
They also have they add passive bonuses to your character's abilities. So if you have 4, like sometimes if you have 4 of one Higgledy type, it'll change Roland's X ability to do another like additional attack with it.
There are a couple of other collectibles as well. So Higgledies is one of the collectibles, and then you will probably spend a lot of time running around in the overworld looking for a lot of other secret hidden areas throughout the course of the game to find other collectibles. Because there's also, as you mentioned, there's the Tainted Enemies, which are, well, thankfully they show up pretty prominently on the maps, but sometimes they're off in a hidden area if they're not in the overworld. And those are, they're monsters that have been specifically evilly tainted, and they're extra evil and they're extra ferocious, and so they are basically the boss fight of that type of monster.
Right. And they're also, if you run into them, they'll prompt you like, do you want to fight this level 46 tainted Guga? Like, no, I don't. But when you do, they generally give you really good rewards, and they're definitely the most challenging fights in the game so far. And they're fun to clear out. But I will say that, like, and this is exciting, but there are ones on the map that I don't know how to get to. Like, I've been in the areas that they're on, but, like, they're just up in a part of the overworld I don't know how to get to. So, like, there's definitely some more modes of transportation or getting around that are yet to come. And there's already been some of that, which I really appreciated. Like, seeing stuff that you can't get yet, but you know you'll be able to later on is kind of like that Zelda-esque excitement of coming back to an area.
Even in a level, like there's these lovely woods. You'll go through there, you'll probably a couple of times, and then you will get a new ability or you'll get something to help you get through essentially a gate.
Right.
And explore more of it. So you see new parts of it each time you go in for different things, which is cool.
Yeah. In addition to like finding collectibles and higgledies and things like that, in some of those secret dungeons, you'll find secret doors, which take you to like a whole nother little. It's kind of like a special trial. I don't want to go too in depth about it, but it's an additional challenge that's kind of fun, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah, these are the Dreamer's doors.
Yeah.
And there are 9 Dreamer's doors that you can go through, and then you complete them. And we'll won't go into it any more than that because part of it is the fun and exploration of it. But there's a lot of cool little side quests like that. That's just, if you look at the list of side quests, that's just one of them.
Yeah.
And there are hundreds.
Yeah.
Every time you advance the story, more side quests unlock as well. So there's always plenty of things to do to avoid your kingly duties, should you so choose. And they can range from, a lot of them are recruiting citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So once you start kingdom building, you need good citizens for your kingdom. So you can go around, find citizens. Typically, they'll need you to do something or need you to bring them something because they're all jerks. And then they will move to your kingdom and they can then contribute their knowledge to sorcery research or what have you. But a big part of the side quest game ends up consisting of recruiting citizens for your kingdom. Because the kingdom building, we haven't gone into too much, but it is a pretty major part of the game.
It is. At the same token, it's kind of like the higgledies where you don't have to, you have to engage with it to some extent, but you don't have to go, like if you're not someone that likes to get into the deep parts of building a kingdom and like upgrading and min-maxing, like you don't have to go that deep into it, but I am because it's fun. And it's also straightforward enough. Like it's not, you don't have to choose exactly where you want your stuff to go. Like it has laid out plots of land, and if you build here, it's going to be this thing. And then there's set research items for all those things, and citizens all have a place that they specialize in. So you find like, I can't remember his name, but you find this guy, and he wants to be in the armory. And when you when you put him in the armory, he'll unlock a new research ability. So you just like keep going down these trees, and there are definitely times where I'll see like a building that says I want to upgrade this building to level 2, so it gives me more research abilities. But I need to find a person with this skill. So then I'm like, I need to find the citizen now. So I'm going to do all the side quests.
Yeah. So the basis of the kingdom building is you start off basic kingdom. You build. You need to build basically your sorcery house, your armor house, your weapon house, and your higgledy house. And everything else branches out from there. And once you've built those and once you've staffed them, you can research new levels of spells, which will then let you take, say, King Evan, and increase the power of his spells or learn new branches of spells. Or you can build better armor, or you can improve the performance of higgledies.
Yep.
And then once you've got those, by the way, I think for me, sorcery has so far been the best one.
If you have like enough resources, building weapons can be really easy, like good, because you can build super powerful weapons if you just dump like extra ingots and stuff into them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I found that just those few, the spells have been probably the best. But also higgledies are fun.
Higgledies are fun. Then once you've got those established and you've got research going, then you can start to build out ranches and farms and the general store and the restaurant where you can cook food. And each of those then has their own arm of upgrades. So you upgrade the general store and then you can buy better stuff from there and you get better discounts from there. You talk to the cook, and if you bring him ingredients, he will learn new recipes, and each of the different dishes that he makes, you can eat it, and then it has a different effect that'll last a certain period of time, basically a buff. Or you get the farm going, and then they will harvest vegetables and then put them in. Then you can collect all the vegetables and you have more materials to work with. Or there's lumber yards, there's fish markets, there's all kinds of different things that will then just continue collecting. And one of the unusual things about this is the kingdom management is the only part of the game that really takes place in real time. Not like real out of game time, but real like as you're playing the game.
Right.
And everything else, nothing else in the game advances, nothing else levels up until you do, until you progress through the story. Like the everything is basically just there waiting for you to go encounter.
Right.
But the kingdom is a little bit different. You have a different type of currency called King's Guilders, and that's what you spend in order to upgrade or research things, and or to build things. And then you also have a certain amount of stores, and so those will you'll build up King's Guilders, you'll build up stores, and then they get to a max and they stop.
Right.
So it's probably going to be underestimated, but you need to go back to your kingdom pretty frequently.
Yep.
Just to empty that, just to clear the stores. Otherwise, you're maxed out and you're not getting any
once an
benefit out of
hour or so. That feels very mobile game to me. It's so weird. Like that one aspect, just having it on a timer. That's probably the one thing I don't like about kingdom building is that just feels out of place to have to to be incentivized to just leave my game on while I'm not playing and just like have my hours tick by and come back every couple hours while I'm doing something else to get my money. The other thing I kind of wish was in when you're exploring your kingdom, you do it in the overworld view. And I really wish that I could get down into the in-world view and just walk around my beautiful kingdom. Because you can walk around all the other kingdoms, but not your own.
Yeah, when you walk around in the other kingdoms, they are really stunning. Ding Dong Dell was actually a location from Wrath of the White Witch.
Oh, was it?
So, yeah, so that one's actually cool if you have played the game. You don't have to have played the first game to understand anything about this. It takes place hundreds of years later. But if you have played it, there are some lovely little nods to the first game in Ding Dong Dell in particular, which is really cool. And it's stunning, it's beautiful. You get to Gold Paw, it's stunning, it's beautiful, and so on and so forth. All the locations are really different, really beautiful, and you're right, you don't get to explore your own kingdom in the same level of beauty as the others.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm assuming that's probably because if you're missing a building, they don't want to have to get a different.
Sure. And that makes total sense. I understand from a design standpoint. I'm not going to hold it against them. But it would have been cool.
Yeah, we're working on this. We're building a fucking kingdom. I want to see it. Brought up a Gold Pot, and I thought the music in that place is really good.
The music across the board I quite like. Each of the different locations has its own tone to the music that really, I think, works well with the style of each location. Sometimes they're really fun and exciting, and sometimes they're whimsical, and sometimes they're techno.
Yeah, there's been a couple times where I'm walking around the world, or I'm not doing anything important, but I'm just playing perilous music. Like I'm in grave danger by being here, but I'm just I'm walking around looking for treasure chests. Leave me alone. I don't need to be rushed with this music, but otherwise, yeah, I do like it.
Yeah. As far as the things that I wish were a little bit better. Honestly, it's super minor stuff. I was playing on PS4. You were on PC, and I did have some frame rate drops here and there. Nothing major, nothing that broke the game, but enough for me to notice every now and again, and that's a shame.
Yes.
I think most of the quests that you get are fetch quests. Thankfully, not really escort quests, but fetch quests. So you are doing a lot of the oh, hey, go get something like this, and bring it back to me. And so if you don't like fetch quests, you're going to be miserable trying to do all the side quests in this game.
Yeah, the side quests are also very quick. You spend more time traveling to the side quests than actually doing them. Especially when my favorite ones are the ones go kill this monster, and you travel to go kill the monster, and it takes 3 seconds. But they're still fun. I don't know, to me, but I understand that the side content isn't as well thought out as the rest of the game, because there's in the main story there's a ton of crazy stuff you're doing. There's puzzle elements, the way they incorporate the skirmishes and things like that, and the boss fights are all really, really fun, and the side content is largely go get me some of those apples.
Yeah.
Go get me 5 apples.
Yeah, mind you, it is all optional. The game itself, if you're not just faffing about, and if you go through the story, it's actually pretty short for a JRPG. You can get through it in 30, 35 hours. If you want to do all the collectibles, which I do.
Yeah.
Then you're looking at maybe 80 hours.
And I don't really mind that because it means that I think the best part of the game is the story. So if you can get through it in 30, 35 hours, like that's great. Like to me, the thing that was carrying me through early on, I thought that the intro was a little weak in that you're kind of thrown into this world literally, and Ding Dong Dell wasn't all that appealing to me. It didn't really click until a couple hours in when I started beating the pirates. Like when you get to Sky Pirates, and you're like, all right, this game has Sky Pirates. That's pretty cool. And then you get to the next major area, and it's like, I don't want to say too much, but basically it's a casino kingdom, and everything is based on luck, like everything. And then it's all like has so much charm to it. Like that's the stuff that I really love. And I like for me, I like doing busy work too, so I like the side quests. But if I just did the story, I'd probably be just as happy. So.
And one of the things that I like too is that each area is so different that when you go into a new area and when you progress into a new area, you feel it, which is great. Like you get that sense, you're not just doing the same thing over and over and over and over when you go into a new area. Suddenly, doing all those fetch quests feels fresh because you're doing them somewhere else.
Yep.
And it's the different music, it's like a different style, it's a whole different feel, and that's all really great.
Yeah. The whole thing just feels like a whimsical anime adventure, and I just want to, like, all I want to do is move forward in the story to see where it's going, because it's so much fun.
Yeah. I want little King Evan to win.
I know.
As far as criticisms go, that's not much. I've had a great time playing this game. I'm going to go back, I'm going to do all the completionist stuff. I'm going to get all the higgledies. I'm going to get all those things because I really love the world. I love spending time in it. I have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I love the game. The only real problems I have with it are that it might be a little easy. But it's also like it's a problem and it's not a problem. Like I feel like I'm not challenged, but at the same time, I'm having fun because I'm just kicking everything's butt, you know? And I'm getting to do all the side quests and like kill all the hard monsters, and that's super fun. And like I constantly am looking forward to like, how do I get back to this area? Like how do I figure out how to get to this treasure chest? How do I unlock all of these blue treasure chests that I've never been able to unlock? Like that sort of stuff.
They're just teasing you.
They're just teasing you, and then it's such a change of pace. It's such a good game.
It is true that a lot of JRPGs, a lot of games in this genre, they're very angsty adolescent.
Yes.
That's the characters. That's the name of the game, and that is not the case here. This is just whimsical and optimistic is probably the best word for that. Everyone is striving to make the world a better place and has faith in everyone, and it's so refreshing because usually everything is terrible and you're just trying to stave off the end of the world, and this is trying to build something really beautiful. So love that. Last thing we should cover off is performance. So I played on PS4, you played on PC. Wrath of the White Witch was only available on PS3.
Right.
So this is the first time that Ni no Kuni's come to PC. Mm-hmm. How'd it perform?
It was great. I mean, I have a really good graphics card, but a really old, like my machine in general is like 4 or 5 years old now. So I have like a third gen i7, and I have 16 gigs of RAM, but I have a Titan X, and that's a pretty good graphics card. But my computer isn't always the best. Like in The Witcher, it doesn't perform that great on high. But in this game, high settings held a solid 60. There was never a break in frame rate. I had my FPS counter on going the whole time, and I've never encountered any problems. The only issue I've ever had, and I think this is just the way it was designed, sometimes when I'm exploring, my higgledies will pop in behind me. Like they sort of teleport, they don't walk. And when they pop in, they do a little flash, and sometimes the camera is oriented, so the flash is like here. But that's it.
Yeah, I've seen that as well.
Okay, so
so that's just across the board, but it's a very minor thing.
Yeah.
PS4, I was primarily playing on PS4 Pro. I did spend some time on a base PS4, and I noticed the frame rate drops were more significant on the base PS4. I felt like I still had a couple on PS4 Pro, not nearly as many, and mostly around really busy areas.
Sure.
So the performance was maybe not as strong as a good PC, but totally fine for the most part.
And I honestly, if I could change what I'm doing, I would rather play it on a PS4 just so I can sit on my couch and play it, because it's definitely like a controller game. I am playing with my PS4 controller on my PC as well. So, but man, it's so good.
Maybe get that Steam Link going.
Yeah, I could do that.
All right, so if you had to do it all over again, would you buy the game immediately, Would you wait for a sale or for it to hit some sort of subscription program, or would you skip it?
If knowing what I know now, if I missed out on this game, I would be so upset with myself. 100% buy this game, especially if the genre fits your likes.
Well, and even if it doesn't normally, but you like what you're hearing, because you don't normally play JRPGs.
No, I'm
right?
not a JRPG guy. Like I don't even know what to say about this game other than it's so different from what I usually play, but it's so charming and like the story is it's so captivating. It's like watching. I don't want to make Ghibli comparisons too much, but it is like watching like a fun Ghibli movie where you just want to see what's around the corner next. Like you want to see like how much detail is packed into the world when you get to the next kingdom, and oh god, it's so much fun. Yeah, definitely buy.
Like I said at the beginning, I was predisposed to liking this game. I've been waiting for it for a long time, very much looking forward to it. I have put in 100+ hours on Wrath of the White Witch, so I've been excited, and every delay has just been so difficult. But with you know what, the results were great. I can't argue with the delays because what came out is fantastic. So I would absolutely, I would drop my money on it in a heartbeat. I love this game, and I think that the number of hours you get out of the game make the full retail price totally fine. There's no microtransaction rubbish to worry about. It's just a really beautiful, fun game.
Yep.
And I hope that this game does as well as it deserves to. I feel like this is a great game experience, and I hope that more people can have it because it's made me so happy.
Yeah, I seriously would not miss out on this game.
No. So that's what we think. That's what we would do. Let us know if you have any interest in checking out No Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom, if you're planning on playing it, if you're going to do PS4, PC, and if this helped you make a decision at all. And so let us know about all that in the comments. For more reviews, video game news, all kinds of fun stuff, make sure you like this video. And if you're new here, subscribe to the Know. That's also a big step. Thanks.
There is one who brought the world together.
And who was that?
Ferdinand, mighty Ferdinand.
You will return her to me. So long.